Ready and
Good
hello.
morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Oh, hey, Thomas.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us today. We're so excited about what we'll be digging into. Oh, I can't wait. Let me just raise my lighting. Everybody is pretty much here. Let's see. Missing two people. I think Fabio maybe. Okay, I think we're just gonna start and then, we'll catch up as they get here. So welcome back to, this very first Volumetric Performance Toolbox Artist Residency, and really excited to get started on day 5 of this series of workshops. And for the benefit of anyone who is viewing this video asynchronously from our Medium website, just wanted to kind of give a bit of an introduction and say that Volumetric Performance Toolbox is a collaborative project between myself, Glowbox, and Sora Bluey, and our whole motivation around this project is how to give artists anywhere the possibility to create their and perform live from their own living space into immersive web space. And we're very thankful for iBeam, who makes this all possible, the research and this residency and series of workshops. And we are so thrilled to invite this amazing cohort of artists here to just, hash this out with us, to create along with us, to think about how can we create a decolonized, decentralized future for live online performances. This is the new paradigm. I feel like, throughout this tough year, we're seeing some changes and some real silver linings. I think I'm a fierce optimist, but I feel like this is really a future, a huge future and a step towards the world that gives more equitable opportunities for everyone. So thank you for being with us and ushering this in along with us. So for the benefit of anyone who is now joining us, I'm Valencia James, the lead artist in this research project, and I will just describe myself for a low vision audience. I'm a Black femme with dark brown skin, and I have on a colorful headscarf with blue and orange concentric circles. And yeah, and today we are going to really get into a big part of the research and how we're dealing with live online performance, which is volumetric capture or volumetric streaming. And today we're going to be delving into how do we use our volumetric performance kits. And I will just show this one here, which is a beauty. Thanks to Sora, Sora Bluey and Glowbox together. They put this together to make it possible for any artist to stream themselves in volumetric video with minimal lightweight equipment. So this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be led by Thomas Wester and Simon Bowes throughout today. So I'm really excited about that. And to start our session, we're going to have some introductions by two artists who are a part of our excellent cohorts, Terry Wright and Carlos Jones Davila. And I will let you guys decide like which one of you wants to start.
Popcorn Terry.
Okay, no problem. I'm happy to go first. Let me share my screen. I just prepared a hodgepodge of slides, so just start there and talk through them. Okay, share. Oh, it says I'm disabled to share my screen.
You should be able to do it now.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so let me share my sound also, just in case. Okay, can you guys still hear me and see the screen? Alrighty, so my name is Terry Ayana Wright. A little bit of background about me. I graduated from the Ailey Fordham BFA program. I was a dance major, computer science minor, thinking that the computer science minor would help me support myself, my dance endeavors. It didn't so much happen that way, but I have that background. Then after I graduated, I toured toured with Ailey 2. It's the second company to the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. After that, I became the company manager of a project-based Afro-modern company based in New York City, Mateta Dance. And then right now, I am online modern dance teacher for Ailey Extension, and it's a program where anyone can come and take class. So you're all welcome to come take my class every Wednesday and Sunday online through Zoom. And then I'm also an MFA candidate right now at Parsons Design and Technology, with the aim of combining my dance background with visual effects. That's a little bit in a nutshell of me. Sorry. How do I change? Oh, so some projects that I've been working on since being at Parsons. The first one, I created this film called Her Predisposition, and it is about a woman struggling with her mental health struggles, but that mental health struggle is illustrated through the vortex figure. You see the blue sort of cosmos figure. Initially, I wanted that figure to be informed by a motion capture character, but I couldn't figure out how to combine that data with in a live action space. So it's still something I'm trying to work on, a design question I'm still figuring out. So that's why you see the mocap on the other side. And this is the figure I was trying to import into with using Spoke the other day to see if that was a possibility. Still working on that. But next project, this is a VR. Oh, not VR. Sorry, it's a 360 video that I did while on a study abroad project in Berlin. And what made this cool was I got to be the dancer and also on the editing team. And so I'm really, after seeing Carlos's work on the other day, I'm really interested in seeing how like 360 video can be incorporated into Mozilla hubs. So yeah, that was the next project. Another project, just trying to move really fast here. The next project, I made this next film. It's called Telekinetic Waters, and sort of cloning myself in post-production. And it tells the story of a woman who's distraught by things happening because of COVID and just being in isolation. And she receives a visit from an ancestor, and that ancestor sort of helps her through her time of need. So the film kind of illustrates the ancestor coming out of her grave and meeting her in her home, and just playing with effects in post to bring that story alive through dance. So no dialogue. I speak through dance. I speak through movement. And so I also am interested in playing in After Effects and sort of trying to combine visual effects with live action in this way. So I made this title sequence for the film it doesn't really make sense anymore. But the idea, sorry, it's kind of loud. But the idea was for it to, illustrate how, as if the audience was going underground, under the grave, and then coming out into sort of a cosmos, fourth dimension space where the grave exists, where the ancestor would exist. But the story has since changed in another direction, but it was fun to be able to play in After Effects in a three-dimensional way. I the 3D aspect is really what I am drawn to. Sorry, I didn't mean to start it over. So then the next project that I'm working on now for my thesis is a continuation of telekinetic waters, where the audience enters inside of the ancestor's grave, but it's not only we're not only inside of the ancestor's grave, but we're also inside of the mind of the young woman. So there's a parallel thing happening there. um, and some of the background, I guess, inspiration is really heavily in the I Ching, which is an ancient book on philosophy. Um, some would say it's the oldest book in the world, but this quote is from the foreword of that book. In dreams and fairy tales, the grandmother or ancestress often represents the unconscious because the latter in a man contains the feminine component of the psyche. So this next film that I'm working on, I wanted to really hold this to be true. So we're in the subconscious of the woman, but we're also in the presence of the ancestor because the ancestor represents the subconscious. So this is just like a style board, mood board of what the next film will be. So we're inside the grave. The lighting is sort of dark. The woman, she's in a long, or the ancestor, sorry, she's in a long white dress. She's dancing, and the bottom left corner is just a credit to Splendid Isolation by Jessica Lange. Um, and bottom right is uh, Monticello Productions. They're based in Brooklyn. But yeah, so this is where my head is at right now. And then also a little bit more background about the 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 mathematical side, I guess, that I'm trying to bring into my practice is bringing highlighting the similarity between the way the I Ching is structured, like if you were to use it as an oracle or ask a question to it, and the way binary counting is set up and how computers are organized, like with the byte. So the byte is has a base of 256 to 2 to the power of 8, and then the hexagram has a base of 64 2 to the power of 6. So there's 60 to try to sum it up really quickly. It's 64 different possible hexagrams or 64 different possible answers that you could receive from the I Ching. So and I'm realizing there's this similarity between how images are encoded, like with base 64 encoding, when you're trying to transfer images from one place to another online. It's really similar to just how the I Ching is organized, and I'm still my wheels are still sort of turning to try to figure out and understand this relationship more, but really it just speaks to me trying to just bring how can my artistic choices be informed by code, mathematically speaking. So and then the last reference I want to speak to, I mentioned this a little bit in our world building exercise. But this man, Ronnie Glash, he's a mathematician, and he found this through line from Bamana sand divination, which is another form of the I Ching, but just more west, based in the Middle East and North Africa, where you're using elements of the earth, ancient philosophy to ask the universe questions, so to speak, again, based in binary counting. So he found that through line from that ancient source all the way to sort of a base that was used to inform elements of the digital computer. And I put a little a TED talk about, he explains it really quickly in the TED talk if you want to. I put it in the Slack. So I actually made this on Monday after our little brief intro we had to Mozilla Hubs. And I love it because, or I love the platform because it helped me visualize using the catacombs. I was able to visualize like where I want to go with the film, and maybe even actually create it in a space like this using 360 video or using the scene that they already have. But I guess what I would really want control over is like where the camera directs, because all of these are different. And then I also use green screen to sort of put myself in the space, and then I kind of cheated and took it into Premiere to make it look like I wanted to, blah blah blah. But yeah, this is where I am right now, and I think that's it. I don't want to talk too much. These are just some design questions that I've already iterated, but that's me. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Wow, thank you so much, Terry. That is really amazing work. Like, thank you. I think you've inspired all of us.
Oh, thanks. I tried to be as succinct as possible, but sometimes I start rambling, so apologies.
No rambling, but thank you for so generously sharing. So what I'll do in interest of the time that we can just get enough time to make sure we can assemble and troubleshoot our kits. Carlos, is it okay if we have your presentation at the beginning of the afternoon session? Okay, great. And I think that's a nice, like, flow and like going forward, although we're like, yeah, already at the end of those presentations. Next one is CAT on Monday. But wow, this is so great. So, so I'd like to introduce Simon Bowes and Thomas Wester. They're of Globox. They're the guys who just make this all possible at all. Like I couldn't do it on my own. Like they're the ones who make like it even like fathomable to have like volumetric performance in immersive web space. So I'm just so grateful to you and everyone at Globox. So I just let you guys introduce yourselves.
And Valencia's being very modest, and we've been working together for a while, and nothing about this project would have worked without any one person in it. And it's been great working with you too. Hi everyone, we've met before briefly, but again, I'm Simon Bowes. To describe my appearance, I'm a white male. I have kind of reddish brown hair, short beard, wireframe glasses, wearing a blue overshirt and a white and blue striped t-shirt. I'm in kind of a white-walled workspace that has various electronic components around it and computers behind me. And then some paintings of, I think it's Mario and Zelda, but they're not mine, so I'm not quite sure what's going on with those. Maybe Thomas can jump in there a little bit. Anyway, a little bit about myself. I'm an artist, designer, and educator based in Portland, Oregon. I work here at Globox as studio manager, so I do a lot of organizing and just keeping things running smoothly. Thomas Wester here is one of the co-founders of Globox, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Thomas Wester. I'll describe my appearance. I'm a white, middle-aged male with blonde hair and blue eyes, and I'm sitting in a relatively neutral space with a black background, and I'm wearing a blue cardigan. I'm one of the co-founders of Globox, and what we do at Globox is we're a spatial interaction lab. And currently that means, because there's not much spatial stuff for us going on, given the pandemic, that means exploring what we can do remotely and what we can do virtually online, and also what we can do with augmented reality. My background is in interactive storytelling. Before Glowbox, I ran a tech team at a company called Second Story, which built a lot of cultural institution interactive experiences. And that's also how I met Zorab Louis, who just joined, and I'm going to put on the spot. Zorab and I kind of started this project with Valencia in June, and Zorab made the introduction, and together we kind of, the three of us have evolved the original idea, which was phase one, which was a performance in hubs. And then based on that, we were able to, and based on the iBeam support, we were able to get into phase two, which is where you all come in. And I'm really excited to see, we're just getting started in a way, is the way I look at this. This isn't nearly done. This is just a bare start. We made this capture kit in the hope that it would become easy is a difficult thing. What does easy mean? But that it would be accessible, more accessible for you all to stream and to express yourselves online as you are in the physical space, because so much of what we see online is through avatars, and it's problematic with the technology access to create meaningful representative avatars. So that's the core concept for myself as to what I'm trying to do here, is allow a wider group of artists and humans in general to create their own spaces and live in those spaces without it being mediated through a lot of the corporate or broadcast branding that we currently struggle with. So, Zorab, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. My name is Zorab. My pronouns are he, him. I have black hair, facial hair. I'm very skinny, wearing a t-shirt, very casual today, casual Friday. I know Valencia from her husband. We worked together on another startup project. And I know Thomas, he's my mentor and my previous boss when I used to live in Portland, Oregon. I do a lot of hacking, programming, artsy stuff as well sometimes. And when we were in the beginning of pandemic, when we were thinking about all of our friends not being able to continue to work in the entertainment industry, we tried to come up with an idea of some sort of solution to help them at least stay creative, at least create new performances kind of remotely. And as Thomas said, this is not even close to done. We had ideas regarding using multiple sensors, creating a collaborative environment for artists to basically create something together without being in the same space. So I have a feeling that this is version 0.1. And with the help of you guys, we would know how to move this forward and create something that's meaningful to people who would actually going to use it. And regarding that, if you guys haven't started using it, I don't know where we are in the workshop series, but it would be amazing to get feedback, and understand the actual problem that you guys are having, so we could help solving it. Yeah, I think I talked enough. I don't know. Let me know if I haven't.
Thanks, Zorab. That was a great introduction to this project. And yeah, to follow up what you're saying, yeah, this is all very new technology that we've been developing. We are still developing. Thomas was working on it this morning. And so you're all kind of here on this journey with us to figure out how to make this work, how to make it work better, and how to enable more expressive performances. But with that being said, I think we can get started and take a look at our kits. You all received them in the mail, right? I think I confirmed with everyone here. Cool. Do you have them ready? Do you have them with you? Okay. I'm posting here in the chat box a link to kind of it's a web-page document that we'll go through everything that we're going to go through here today. So this will eventually become kind of a PDF that you can follow along, like an instruction manual in a way. But for now, I have it online so we can update it, based on the challenges that we come across today, because we're going to familiarize ourselves with these kits. We're going to get them set up so they can stream. We're going to do our first volumetric streams. We're also going to solve a lot of problems together today together, or at least try to solve them, or at least identify them. Things will go wrong. That's okay. That's part of it. That's why we're all here. But we'll see how it goes. The last thing I need to check with everyone about, everyone who got a kit, I emailed this morning 2 URLs for you to use for streaming. I want to make sure everyone got that email. We don't need them right this moment, but you will need them to start your streams. I also want to stress that those URLs they should be private to you. Don't share them with people. There's kind of a weird balance of public and private right now because we're having to run everything through one dashboard, through a server. Thomas can explain this a bit better later. But the important thing is that don't share those URLs with other people. They're for your kit pretty much. So they shouldn't be posted anywhere. If you screen record anything or a screenshot anything that has those URLs in them, either don't share that screenshot or black them out with like a digital marker. I don't know, like use some kind of markup to block out part of those URLs so they can't be copied from someone else. If you've ever done any kind of other streaming, actually I'll ask, has anyone here done any kind of streaming like through Twitch or YouTube Live or anything like that? Carlos, you have? Remy, a few of you? Yeah, quite a few, great. So if you've done that, you're familiar with the idea of like stream keys, right? How those are private. So this is like those, you don't want those appearing online anywhere because then someone else can hijack your stream. Any questions before we get started? Thomas or oh, sorry, Terry. Yeah.
Just a quick question. This is Terry speaking. Where can we find the URLs?
I just before this started, let me double check on my end. I sent emails out to everybody. Let me confirm that I sent one to you. Let's see. Let me confirm they got your email right. That would be important.
While Simon's doing that, so what we want to do today is basically walk through turning the thing on and getting it connected to the internet. So the capture kit will send to a streaming endpoint, which we're using Mux. Mux is just like Twitch and YouTube. It's a professional or a commercial level streamer, and we're using Mux because we didn't have the time to research all the other ones, and Mux just works very well. So I've done a lot of testing with it, and it's relatively affordable for what we're doing with it. But anyway, so the capture kit's going to stream to Mux, and then Hub and Spoke are going to get that stream from Mux. And so what we want to do is kind of go through the whole cycle, so that by the end of this session, you will be able to, on your own, turn it on and start streaming. And we anticipate questions because this is the first that you're like our beta testers, or not even, you're our prototype testers. And so the more interactive we can make this, or the more, just give us some guidance as to if this is working for you or not. The whole point here is that over the break and going into January, this becomes a tool in your toolbox that you're using, that you're comfortable with, that you feel like your own, that you own, or that you're just fluent in. So anything we can do to help you with that, please let us know.
All right, thanks, Thomas. Terry, let me know if you don't get that email, and I'll send them to you directly again. But we don't need those just yet, because the first thing we're going to do is familiarize ourselves with what's in the kit. So I'm going to switch my camera over here. There you go. Might be a little disorienting because the angle, but you can all see that. That's my desk. That's the stuff in the kit. So let's walk through what's in it. Actually, before I do that, looking at the document here, I actually want to go over what we're going to do today. So we're going to we're going to assemble our volumetric performance kit. You know, you'll hear them referred to as capture kits too. We're working on that name. That's an ongoing conversation that we're having. But we're going to learn what's in the kit. We're going to assemble it. We're going to connect the VPK, as we're calling it for short, to the internet. We're going to configure the volumetric stream with the service MUX that Thomas was just describing. We're going to start and stop streaming depth video from the VPK. We're going to test the stream in a browser. Then we're going to place the depth video stream in Spoke, and then we're going to view that stream in Hubs. We're also going to learn how to properly shut down the computer in the kit, and we're going to look at how you can you know, access recordings of your streams, so you can use those later as well, and also so you can prototype with them. Additionally, we're going to do another step where we prepare the computer in the kit for remote support, so we can, you know, push updates, and so we can, because this is software that's actively being developed, there are some changes to make it better, to make it run faster, and so we'll get set up so we can both update the kits for you, but also help support you over the next month or so as you're working on your projects. And at the end, I'd like to have some time to have a conversation or a discussion about kind of the constraints and the affordances and the future of the volumetric performance kits, because there's things that it allows and things that we kind of have to work around. So I think it's good for us to have a discussion about how we can approach those constraints creatively. With that being said, I will switch back to my desk view. You can all see that okay? Great. And if I'm going too fast at any point, just please, you know, speak up and ask me to slow down. It's easy for me to get in my own head a little bit about these things, especially after writing them all down. So I'm happy to repeat anything and, you know, adjust to your pace as needed. But looking at your kit in front of you, you should have in there. This is not reversed for me the way it is for you. You should have this part, which is, there it is, which is the Raspberry Pi computer in here. When you hear me refer to the Pi or the Raspberry Pi, that's this computer right here. It's a very small, relatively low-cost computer. It runs off a micro SD card in place of a hard drive, and this one has this enclosure with a touchscreen on the front. A couple things are different about your kits from mine. You have a stylus with a little piece of orange tape wrapped around it. I don't. That stylus is there to help you use the touchscreen if you need to, but there aren't a lot of situations in which you'll necessarily need to use the touchscreen, but we'll talk about that more later. Attached to the Raspberry Pi is this bracket. This is a cell phone holder that Ben Purdy, who works here at Glowbox, kind of modified. It holds the computer in place and lets us attach it to a tripod with this threading right here. Ben also made this metal part, which is a bracket that holds the Intel RealSense depth camera. So this is the camera that will send a depth image. This is what's doing a lot of the, you know, all the work to find the depth data and send it to the stream with the Raspberry Pi. And then this screw right here on the back, this is how we attach the microphone. So the first thing I'll have us do is twist this right here to loosen it and swing it around 180 degrees. So it's right about there. And that'll let us attach it to the tripod. We'll do that in a moment. Also in the kit, miniature tripod, a microphone with some googly eyes that is supposed to look happy to see you when you open the kit. Power supply that goes directly into the Raspberry Pi computer. A microphone cable. Yours might be attached to the microphone already. A USB adapter for your microphone. And a USB A to C cable to connect the RealSense camera to the Raspberry Pi. There are some other things in your kit too. I won't detail those so much right now because they're not immediately necessary to us setting this up and getting it started. So let's see here. Thomas, am I missing anything so far? I just want to check in.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go ahead and interrupt me at any point if needed. But I'm going to first attach the kind of the main computer part, the Raspberry Pi with the camera to the tripod. we go. And so this tripod has this little red button right here. If you hold that in, you can adjust the angle of it. Let's see. Next, I'll attach the microphone. So the microphone, the eyes actually have a function on it too, beyond being cute. The socket on the microphone, it's kind of oblong. And so for it to fit properly on top of the whole kit, you'll want it so the eyes are facing upward. That way it has enough clearance to go around the RealSense camera. So I'm going to take the threading and I'm going to twist it around on that screw that's sticking out of the metal bracket on the top of the kit. It might be kind of difficult to get this facing directly forward. As long as it's generally facing forward, it should work fine. The best way to do that would be if you have a wrench handy to adjust this washer right here. Sorry, it's not a washer. Whatever piece of hardware that's called. Adjust that until it's a bolt.
Yep.
Thank you. So you can get it facing forward, but like I said, right now that's not terribly important. The microphone will pick up most things in front of the kit. Let's see here. Next, I'm going to take this USB A to C cable. And I'm going to plug the A end, the larger flat end with the blue plastic inside. It's important that I plug it into the USB port that has the blue plastic inside it. So these are both USB ports, but we want to plug it into the one that matches the color. So blue to blue. We also want to plug it into the one that's farthest towards the back of the computer, so farthest away from the screen. Here's the screen. So it's not this one, but it's this one right here towards the back. There. And that cable goes around to the RealSense camera over here. We plug that in right there. Next, I'll take the this USB audio adapter, and I'll plug that into the black USB-A port here, but the one that is closest to the screen, right? So we're kind of staggering those two connections out. Then there's a microphone cable. Let's plug there's the 90-degree angle end and the flat end. Let's plug the 90-degree end into the pink, kind of red pink port on the audio adapter, and plug the flat end or the straight end into the back of the microphone. And that's just about the whole core of the kit. The other parts we need are power. And I don't know how many of you will have wired internet available. If you have wired internet, that's preferable. I understand that that's not something we all just have sitting around at our desks. This is set up to use Wi-Fi as well. But in this case, I'm going to use wired internet. I'll walk you through how to connect it to Wi-Fi shortly.
And just to highlight that, the reason why we're using wired internet is to get the most stable stream, because we're actually streaming quite a lot of data. And Wi-Fi, while it works well for like web pages, it doesn't always work well for sending a continuous stream of data, and wired is better. So it's worth, especially once we get into doing a performance, and that's one of the lessons we learned with Valencia, the performance we did in September. It's worth investing in getting a cable if you have access to a router, like if you know where your Wi-Fi router is. And I know that especially if you're in an apartment building, it's not always available, but sometimes it's worth to kind of sleuth out if there is one somewhere nearby And to get a longer cable, you can get 50 feet cables and run that. It's ungainly, but it will make a very big difference on the quality and the reliability of your stream. So that's why we're recommending to have a wired connection.
Thanks, Thomas. So if you have an Ethernet cable available, that plugs in just above the USB 3 port for the RealSense camera. And then we need power. So you have this power supply. It's got an adapter on one end that goes into your plug, and then it's got a USB 3 connection on the other end. So I have some power handy right here.
Yeah, something we've noticed is that it's helpful also to have an extension cord to be able to do that. The amount of power cable that they give you is a little bit short when you think about typically where your power plug is. So that's another thing that we didn't ship because well, it's a large thing to ship and we didn't know what your situation was, but it's a thing to consider getting if you don't have it. Like 10 or 12 feet of extension cords, not necessarily, it doesn't have to be like a power strip, but just a cord would be enough. And that would give you some flexibility as to where you put the camera, because it's once you get used to this, you'll start finding that the camera, like any camera, has a specific viewing angle. Like it has a frame that it can see. And so you'll be wanting to place it in different places to get the frame to be what you want it to be. And typically what we found, and so again, that's where if you have an extension cord, you can be a little bit mobile with where you place this. And then finally, the tripod adapter, it will go on any regular tripod. So if you have a camera tripod around that's taller, then that would give you some flexibility also as to like placing it in the middle of a room or something like that. So that's also something to consider.
Thanks, Thomas. All right, so the last step for setting it up, I have mine flat on the table here just so the camera picks it up better. I recommend having the tripod extended and having it standing up. But there's a little, if you look at the bottom part of the Raspberry Pi, the bracket's probably, sorry, yeah, the bracket, the holder is probably cutting up or covering up one of the two ports down there. There's this port, it's in the corner right here. Let's see if I can see that at all. That little flat USB 3 one on the very end, it's on the side that has the micro SD card as well. That's where you plug your power in. And you should see then a blank white screen. That means the computer is powering up, and that'll take a moment. While that's booting up, I'll check in here. Are there any questions so far?
Yeah, this is Carlos speaking. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I was wondering if it was important the way that you taught us how to assemble everything in that order, rather than powering up first maybe and then adding all the other attachments.
It's fine. It's just when the way that we set this up is that you can add it later, but the powering up, you want everything connected before you power it up. And the reason why is because we have the app that we built, or the thing that does the streaming. It auto starts, and it doesn't have the intelligence to keep looking for a device if it's not attached, right? So that's just a fact that we didn't write the code to like look at it. So if it starts up without the RealSense connected, it will say RealSense not connected. And the only way that you can get it to see the RealSense is to connect it, unplug the power, and plug it back in. So that's but in the future, if that's something that is an issue, we could make our app a little bit smarter so that it would be, checking like, oh, is it connected now? Is it connected now?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. This is Simon speaking again. Good question. Thanks. Anything else from anyone just yet? So I'm going to share my screen here and make that a little bit bigger. I'll check in first. Are all of you on Wi-Fi? Is anyone using Ethernet right now?
This is Valencia here. I'm thinking I have Ethernet available, but what do you suggest? I try the Wi-Fi?
You might try it so you learn how to use it right now.
Yeah, I
Simon
figured so.
speaking again.
Yeah.
The Ethernet will be more stable. It will be easier. But the idea behind these kits is that they're very portable, right? You can bring them a lot of places. It's a small package. So as long as you have power and Wi-Fi, you could use them. So it's good to understand how to connect them to Wi-Fi as well.
Yeah, got it.
So if you are on Wi-Fi, you should be seeing this screen once it boots up. And can I confirm that people are seeing that screen? Yes, yes. Is anyone not seeing that screen right now who has a kit? Great. So this is going to be a little bit more difficult for me to walk you through because the kit I'm using doesn't have this Wi-Fi capability the same way. So I'll be walking you through it without working through it with you. But there are instructions on the screen there, and they're asking you to use one of your personal devices, either the computer you're on or a phone or a tablet, to open up your Wi-Fi settings and connect to the Wi-Fi name. It says Raspberry Capture Kit.
So I recommend, because we're in Zoom right now, that if you can use your phone to do it, if you have that, or a tablet, and not the device that you're on, because if you change your Wi-Fi, you're going to drop your internet connection. But what we've done is we've made the Raspberry Pi smart, I guess, where it looks when it starts up, it looks to get it looks to get an internet connection. If it doesn't have an internet connection, it will go into this mode where it turns itself into a Wi-Fi access point. And then, so if you access that Wi-Fi, it will give you a web page that you can say, okay, this is the Wi-Fi that we want you to connect to, and you can configure it to then connect to the Wi-Fi. So that's kind of the process. You only have to do it once because it will remember the settings afterwards.
So this is Simon speaking again. So just to recap, on your phone, go to your Wi-Fi, go to the place where you see all your Wi-Fi networks, connect to the network called Raspberry Capture Kit, and enter the password Capture Kit. And I'll point out too that for many months, the term we're all using for these kits is Capture Kit, volumetric capture. We understand there's an ongoing conversation about that name. We've been since then referring to them as Performance Kit, but this is how it's written in the software at that point. That might change. That'll change in the future likely, but I just want to address that disparity briefly. So the instructions there will say once you connect to that Wi-Fi network with your device, you'll follow the prompts, and that should help you connect. And if you're following along on the documents, I'll share my screen again. This part should look a little something like this. So this is a screenshot from a phone here at Glowbox, and you can see those Raspberry Capture Kits. You'd want to connect to that network, and that should take you to this portal where you enter. You should see a list of all your local networks. So this was at Glowbox. We had the Glowbox network, and then you enter the password for your own Wi-Fi network there, and then press connect. And I'll give you all a moment to get your kits connected.
Hi, this is Carlos speaking. I'm getting a message on the screen. I did this, the login where I put in my Wi-Fi and password, and now on the monitor on my capture kit says the Raspberry Capture Kit was unable to detect internet, and it gives me an IP address. Is there a way to?
Thomas, sorry, you're
do it?
muted.
Let's see what. I'm trying to think of what is a good way for us, like what's in a time effective way for everybody, right? To troubleshoot the issues. So I can troubleshoot that with you, Carlos. And if we're all seeing that, then there's a big issue with what we just sent you all. Like we tested it here in the studio, but if it's not working for you all, Valencia said that she's having issues, which makes sense because of the capture kit. But I'm hearing, Carlos, you have an issue, and Alim, you have the same issue. What is the IP? Carlos, I can ask you the question. I have the same question for you, Alim. What's the IP address that it's printing out?
I would tell you, but it just went to a black screen now.
Okay, just tap the screen. It basically, it's a screensaver to go black. If you tap it, it should come back. It looks like it turns off, but it's not off.
Okay. There it is. It's http://192.168.1.10:5000/.
Great. Can you try in your browser? And Alim, is that similar? Are you seeing something similar?
Yeah, I have the same message, but a different IP address.
Okay, great. So that IP address, as long as you can connect to that IP address, we should be in a good space. And the next time that the Raspberry Pi reboots, it will have that message. So if it boots up and shows an IP address, that's what it's supposed to be doing. That means that it has been able to connect to the Wi-Fi. And then, that's success, right? So we successfully connected to Wi-Fi. And from now on, instead of working on that little touchscreen, we built a small website, a very simple website right now. That's how you're going to control what the Raspberry Pi does. So you can open a browser on the same laptop that you're working on right now, the workstation you're on right now, and type in that address exactly as it shows, and it will show you a simple console that will allow you to start a stream. We'll get there into a second. I just saw that Terry sent a message. 1 second, I'm having a look, Terry. Oh, if all of you are seeing an IP address, have a look. Try and see if you can connect to that using your browser. We've been using Firefox and Safari for testing, though I think Chrome should work as well.
Hey, Thomas, this is Remy speaking. So I typed in the IP address that I got from the kit, but I'm seeing a white page that says streaming endpoint. Am I in the right place?
Yeah, it's very
Awesome.
basic right now. We'll make it
Okay,
better.
great.
Yeah, but that's exactly what you want to be seeing. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's functional.
And so it's functional. Let's put it that way, basic, functional, whatever you want to call it. But that's what you want to see. And that's where, so the URL that we sent to you, that Simon sent you, there's two URLs. One is RTMP, starts with RTMP. And what that means that's a real-time media transmission protocol is what it stands for. That's the one that you want to put into that URL. We're not there yet, but I just wanted to highlight, so that's the top thing. And then there's a start button. And basically that's it. That's how you get it to go. And it will connect over the internet and start streaming to that MUX endpoint. And then there's another address, which is, we'll walk through this again in a second, but just to highlight, there's another address, and that's what you will use when you're in Hub or Spoke, or actually when you're in Spoke, not in Hub. And that says this is, that's where you can get the live stream that it's streaming. Is anybody having issues connecting to their Raspberry Pi where it doesn't say, either they're not able to connect to the Wi-Fi through their phone, or it's not? Please just put a text in the chat or let us know.
Well, now I'm the one who's having trouble connecting to that IP address. I'm going to try it on my phone, though.
Marianne, I'm seeing your note. Are you seeing an IP address on your Raspberry Pi, or what does the screen show on the Raspberry Pi? Okay, it's a gray screen. And did it have an IP address on it? Did it have anything on it, or just straight up gray? Or can you take are you able to take a picture of it and send it to me?
Marianne speaking. I haven't seen an IP address on it right
Okay.
now. It's just on the screen. I can take a picture of that.
Great.
Simon speaking. I'm rebooting mine to see if that helps it, because it was working last night when I tested it here.
Simon, that blue cable needs to be plugged in on the other end too. I don't know if you did that.
It is, yeah.
Hey Simon, this is Carlos speaking again. I was wondering, how do you reboot this?
Normally we would, if we were a little bit further in the process, we would do it from another, from your computer. You can actually kind of share the desktop of the Raspberry Pi on yours. For now though, I would use that little stylus that's in your kit. There's orange tape around it so you can see it better. And there's, on your Raspberry Pi screen, there's a little kind of like Raspberry icon in the top left of the screen. You tap that, and then a drop-down menu will appear. And at the bottom of the drop-down menu, there's a little down arrow at the very bottom of the screen. Tap that once, and you should see a logout button with a little green icon next to it. You would tap that, and then tap reboot.
If you can access
Thank you.
if you can access the Raspberry Pi through the website, on your there is a button at the bottom which says restart or shut down. There's two buttons. Those will do what Simon just shared. So if you can't get to the website, then the only way to restart it is to either unplug the power or to try and get that screen working with the stylus, which isn't ideal. We understand that. But if you can get, if you have access to it through the website, the easiest way is to use the website to either restart or shut down the Raspberry Pi. One thing to note is when it shuts down, the screen turns white. It doesn't turn black. And so that's where, or it doesn't turn dark. So that's where you would unplug. You can just unplug it once the screen is fully white.
Sorry, Marianne speaking. Sorry if you went over this already, but I just kind of started over, and now I do have the IP address. So I put that on my, like, go through my laptop to that IP address.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still having trouble over here too, Thomas.
Let me come troubleshoot that. I'm going to head over 1 second.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's why why I have that document as a web page right now is I need to correct some information in it. Let's see, did I say? Okay. You want to make sure that like I was typing in the IP address without the :5000 behind it or whatever the port number is. There's a step where you need to leave that out, but I was confusing them. So you want to make sure that you have that colon followed by the number after it. So type that whole address into your bar and you should see a screen that looks like, let me type it in over here. That looks like this.
Yep.
That's great.
So Marianne, you're the streaming endpoint. You're good. Is anyone not at this point right now? Are they not seeing the streaming endpoint page?
Yeah, this is Carlos speaking. I'm having a bit of a difficult time, but I can try hooking it up through through Ethernet. But feel free to continue, and I can jot down notes and keep up.
Okay, great. And all the notes, or all these instructions I'm going through are on that document as well. So
Yeah,
there's a place to get that separately.
And I can also troubleshoot Simon, myself, or Billy, who has helped us in setting these up, could also provide some individual support. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, this Simon speaking here. This isn't the only time you'll get this info. Like, you know, we're here to support you throughout this this residency program. All right, in that case, I'm going to move forward. Let's see here. So once you're at that page, it means your Pi is connected to the internet. We're ready to start the streaming process, but before we do that, we want to take a moment to set up your Raspberry Pi so it can get remote support. This is how we'll be able to you know, help you troubleshoot from here in Portland, and also how we'll be able to update the software on the Raspberry Pi, you know, as we make changes to it, you know, throughout the months that we're working together. So to do that, we will install a program called VNC Viewer. And I'm putting a link in the chat to that program.
So this is a piece of software that we need to download onto our machine. And basically what we're doing is like, it's kind of a little bit like Zoom screen share, but because that screen is so small, it's very difficult and we don't have a keyboard attached to it. So instead of choosing to try and make that screen work and do everything we wanted to do, we chose to, you know, have a little website, a separate app, you know, somewhere that runs remote. And we also wanted to teach you, this isn't something that you need to know, but it's going to help us diagnose and troubleshoot and help out is if you can get a much larger window. So this VNC Viewer, what it will do is it will connect to the Raspberry Pi and it will share the screen and it will allow you to interact with it with your keyboard and with your mouse. So you're not dealing with the stylus. And that's how we're going to be able to troubleshoot issues. And also because this is in progress, we haven't finished the code. You know, first of all, we can't have finished the code because we want your feedback as to what's missing or what could be better. So that's one big point. And then there's some ideas that we have as to how we wanted to make it better. So there are going to be some updates. There's going to be code updates, which means we're going to have to have you guys download on the Raspberry Pi, you know, the latest version of code. And to do that, currently, we don't have that automated. To do that currently, you need to VNC into it and type in a command to get the latest updates. So it's all in Python. So on the Raspberry Pi, it's all Python, and it uses LibRealSense and OpenCV and GStreamer. Those are the three key libraries that it uses to do what it does.
This is Terry speaking. What was the first library you mentioned again?
LibRealSense, which is built by Intel. It's everything we're doing is open source. So LibRealSense is the think of it as yeah, it's the SDK and driver and the ability for us to get the frames from the camera. And we're using OpenCV to visualize that and also to get the color coding. And then we're using GStreamer, which is also an open source media. It's like FFmpeg, which is another media streaming compression thing. Sorry, I'm not sure what they call them, libraries. And GStreamer is actually what sends the data to MUX. All our code is open source. It's not documented well yet, but it's all open source under a GitHub repository called Volumetric Performance. So if you go to github.com/volumetric performance, you'll see it's all open what we're doing. And that's where the latest goes to. So we've modified Hub and we've modified Spoke. And so those modifications are also available. Those are forks of the repository. Those are available under that volumetric performance URL. And it's our intention to write some articles around the technical, like how do we build it? And so why did we choose RealSense versus something else? Or why did we even choose Raspberry Pi? So we have all these reasons why we did what we did that I want to be transparent and open about, and also make sure for the reason that we could have discussions about these things. We're downloading for our individual, Kat was asking, it's for the OS. So if you're on a Mac, the same machine you're on Zoom. So if you're Zooming from a Mac, get the Mac version. If you're Zooming from a PC, get the PC version.
That might take a moment to download, but I'll check in. This is Simon speaking. Are people still downloading VNC Viewer, or have you completed it?
And if you
This is Terry speaking. One more quick question. Should we download this? I guess I could try it and see if it works. But just to be clear, not if we're on our phone, like if we're trying to connect things through our phone, should we download it on our phone? Or
No, the real VNC, you can with the phone. It's not going to be that much better than using the little screen. So I think
okay.
Yeah, so this remote diagnostics is kind of how I'm thinking of the diagnostics, and it's called VNC. That's what the protocol is called that we're using. That's for desktop. So it's so that you can basically get a much larger view of the screen.
I see.
Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
This is Valencia here. I realize I do have a different system, so I'm using Ethernet, but then my internet, I can't access any sites or anything on my computer. I'm not sure if you have an idea what that may be.
But you're on Zoom right now through your computer?
I am, right, so that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So my Safari isn't. Yeah.
You can't go to like Google or volumetricperformance.art.
I'll try, but nothing is, I can't load any sites on my browser.
Valencia, I'd recommend you leave the Zoom and restart your system. That's where I would start, as reboot and then join back in, see if that changes things.
I'm the host, so maybe
okay.
host. Maybe I'll switch. I'll make Simon, I'll make you host, okay?
Okay. So Simon speaking here. We have 15 minutes left before we break for lunch. So we'll complete this part where, we set up VNC Viewer for you. But then after lunch, we'll actually get the stream set up and get it all running. Okay, so Kat says she's got VNC Viewer installed and the window open. Is that where everyone else is too? Great. So this is Thomas's screen here, showing VNC viewer.
So I know from helping Simon a second ago that the Raspberry Pi, and he's in the other room, he has an IP address. And this is the IP address that's printed up there. It's 192.168.1.171. And so that's the address of the Raspberry Pi on your network, either if it's on Wi-Fi or wired. So if I type that in, it will try and connect to it. Is it 171 or is it something different, Simon? Actually, I forget.
192.168.1.170.
Oh, 170. So I need to change it to 170. And if it can find it, it should come up with this authentication username password pretty quickly. And the username and the password are both Pi.
Sorry, Marianne speaking. Do I need to, in order to do that, do I need to include the port, I guess?
You do not. No, and that's the confusion from what Simon said. So the port is really just for the website, that http:// that's if you want to load it in a browser. For real VNC, you just need the number part of what's printed.
Thank you. Sorry.
Simon speaking again. Thomas, do you want to try to connect to mine?
Yeah.
So I'll show you here. You can see on my camera. There's the screen on my Pi. And when Thomas presses connect, I think it's a separate window, Thomas. You're sharing only one of them. Yeah.
Nice. New share.
There you go. So I'm not sure how well you can see that, but what I'm trying to illustrate here is that what Thomas sees on his screen directly mirrors what's on my Pi screen. So we're showing you how to do this and having you install VNC, not just so we can give you remote support, but also because it lets you interact with your Pi much more easily should you need to than using that little stylus on the touchscreen. The touchscreen is great in a pinch, but it's a much better experience to connect with VNC. One thing to keep in mind is if you have the VNC window active, all of your keyboard shortcuts are going to be passed to the Pi, which can be kind of confusing sometimes. Like you might Alt-Tab or Command-Tab on your desktop and you won't see anything happening. It's because it's happening on the Pi instead.
Hey, Simon and Thomas, this is Kat speaking. I just have a quick question. So where we're at right now with the VNC viewer window, the way that you two just connected, are we trying to connect remotely from wherever we are to the IP address that we're seeing on Simon's screen? Or you mentioned the login?
It's to the IP address that you're seeing on your screen. So Simon's screen, it says 192.168.1.170. And your screen, your Raspberry Pi should have a different number than that. And that's the number that you want to connect to.
Great, thanks.
So a little bit of background, just from a technical perspective as to what's happening. Every device that's on a network has a number, just like every house has an address and a postal code. I think is the easy way to look at that. So it's like a unique identifier, right? For things to be on the network or for something to find something else, you need to have unique identifiers. And that's what that number is. So that number 192.168.1.170, that's a unique identifier for the Raspberry Pi on the network, the local network that I have here at Glowbox. You'll have a different number, and that number represents the Raspberry Pi's unique address in your local network. It's a typical giveaway for local numbers versus internet numbers, because the internet uses the same system, but it uses a different range of numbers. The internet local numbers are typically 192.168, or they start with 10, 10.10 or 10.0, and internet numbers are anything else from that. So that's just kind of what we're doing here is we're basically telling a laptop, which also has its own number, to say, we want you to go find something, and this is the number, this is the identifier that you're going to use.
Marian speaking. So I have that kind of similar screen as to what you're showing right now, but it's also saying that the capture kit is unable to detect internet.
Is it it's saying that up here, right?
One second. No, I'll try to send the screenshot.
Send a screenshot, that'd be great.
Hey, Thomas, this is Kat speaking. Just really quickly while Marianne gets a screenshot of that. My Raspberry Pi is showing an HTTP address, but I don't have the 192.168. I'm still just I'm getting a shorter one. And when I type it into the VNC viewer, I'm getting an error message that says that the router's not specified, that it can't connect.
Can you send me also a screenshot of what you're looking at, Kat?
Yeah, you got it.
Simon speaking here. Terry, you posted in the chat that it says connecting for a while. Is it still saying that?
Yes, I can also send a screenshot if that would help.
Yeah, thank you.
But it's okay.
Can I check that? Are there people in this group who have successfully connected VNC to their Raspberry Pi computers?
Hi, everyone. This is Remy speaking. I'm creating like a profile for it right now. So just entering my personal information.
Great. Thank you, Remy.
I'm looking at the screenshots. Oh, okay. I think, Marianne, you uncovered a bug. I think if you were to restart, you wouldn't see that message. So if you were to restart the Raspberry Pi, what's happening is it's showing the it's showing the message, the prompt of like, hey, you need to connect to the Wi-Fi, and then you connect to the Wi-Fi. There's a small button in the right, it's in the red, says next, and that's what dismisses this dialogue. So what you're seeing is you're seeing an old dialogue underneath that isn't relevant anymore. And if you restart, you shouldn't see that again. But can you confirm that that's the case? That's my gut. But
So in terms of restarting as I have it now, I just disconnect it from the power source, or is there another way?
there's a better way to do it. You can do it that way. The better way is to is to use this address. Oh, sorry, you guys don't have that update yet. The most if you can connect over VNC, if you go up here and click on this Raspberry right up there,
Okay.
and scroll down. You have to scroll down, and it's where it says log out.
Okay.
And then that's where you can choose shutdown, reboot, or log out. And you want to choose reboot.
Simon speaking. You can do that with your touchscreen too if you can't get into it with VNC.
Yeah.
That's why we have that stylus in that kit.
Wait 1 second.
Okay,
Where, because I don't have that, like the top of that.
Oh, that's because it's not showing. Let's see. I think in your case, Marianne, if you log into that website that it lists on your PC or your laptop, you'll see the website, and at the bottom of that website or that console, there's a restart button, and that will also cause your Raspberry Pi to reboot.
Sorry, meaning sign in, like where it says like sign into the real VNC account. Is that what you mean?
No, I mean, if you open a browser like Firefox or Chrome or Safari and type in http:// that the whole address, including :5000/, if you type that in, it should pull up a website on the browser, and that website has a button at the bottom and that says restart.
Okay.
I can demonstrate that.
I just clicked restart.
And now it should, now it should restart. Something should have happened. If it hasn't, then we're in trouble. You're just gonna have to unplug and plug it back in.
I think it's restarting.
Okay, great, cool. That's awesome, Marianne. So I think that's good that you're gonna be good once you're restarted. Terry, I'm looking at your, okay, so Terry, you want to type in the address without the :5000. I know that's confusing, but if you were to type in just 192.168.1.9, just the IP part, basically this IP and a port, it should connect.
Simon speaking. Kat, that I believe that'll solve your issue too.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, this is why Thomas came over to my side of the office a moment ago, because I had confused when you use the port number and when you don't, because it's for the VNC, you do not use it. And I believe for everything else that we do, you do use it. Is that correct, Thomas?
That's correct, yeah. And Remy already mentioned, you can save a profile. So once we've done this once on that VNC, it will just remember it, and you don't have to go through this process again, as long as the IP address is the same.
Does that mean then if you, like, say, switch locations and you're using another Wi-Fi, it would change?
Yeah, yeah. So if you were to go to a friend or school or you're in a total different environment, it will actually pop up that white dialog which says I cannot connect to the Wi-Fi, and that's where you'd have to configure the Wi-Fi that you wanted to connect to.
Okay.
And it would give you a different IP address.
Got it. Thank you.
So it's location specific in the sense that it's the network that it attaches to that's specific. It's specific to that.
Got it.
All right. How is everybody else doing?
Hey, Simon, this is Kat speaking. I'm still getting the same error message that the IP address is invalid and that it's not detectable, even after removing the :5000.
Yeah, and also I think it shows HTTP also, Kat. You want just the number, so it would start in your case
with 10.
It's 10, yeah. So you would type in
Okay, gotcha.
10.0.0.6.
Oh, okay, got it. Thanks.
Simon speaking here. That is another thing I'll have to update in the document. Because I had specified that you should type in HTTP, but that is incorrect. And that's why we're doing this all together right now.
Yeah. Thank you for testing this out. And you also get to see the plumbing of the internet.
Series of tubes.
A series of tubes, yeah.
This is Terry speaking. You mentioned that we should create a profile when we're connected.
Yes, I'm trying to remember how I did that. Actually, it remembers it. So if you were to close your VNC viewer connection, in my case, it has remembered it. Let me share my screen again. See, it shows, it just keeps a history of the ones that I have gone to in the past. If you want to get fancy, there are options. I think the default options are fine, but you can change these things.
Marianne speaking on here. So do we have to create a login? Like on your top right, you have Volumetric Toolbox. For me, it says sign in.
You don't need a login, no.
Okay, thank you.
This is Terry speaking. I've completely lost that screen. I'm not sure how to get back to it, but whatever my screen is, it is a dual screen happening between my Raspberry Pi and VNC. It's just that opening screen. I'm not sure where it went or how to get back to that?
If you, let's see. So I'm looking at, are you seeing this screen?
I just started clicking. I'm in a new tab on Chromium. So let me let me go back somewhere else.
Yeah, but you're probably looking at this.
Yeah, I have the same top menu bar.
Window, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's basically, if you want to use the Raspberry Pi as a browser, you can.
Okay.
So if you close that window, which I just did, then there should be another VNC viewer window that's still open somewhere on your OS.
Oh, I see. It's a separate window. Okay. Thank you.
I can share my full desktop just so you guys can see. So this is, to close the sheet. Let me close some screenshots because they're confusing here. This is the VNC Connect app. You don't need to be logged in. And this is the kit that Simon has. And if I click on it, it opens a new window and I can put in the password. You can remember the password if you want. I typically don't remember. It's not good security practice to remember your passwords, but you can if you want to. And then that opens this VNC viewer. I still have this other window. So I have two windows now. I have one which is looking at that capture kit, and I have another one which is down, which allows me to connect to multiple. So Kat, yes, if it asks for authentication, it's Pi, and then sometimes it says that there's another option that comes up, which we'll talk about, a fingerprint, and that's when you want to say yes or accept that.
Hey, Thomas, this is Kat. Could you just explain once again what you just showed us, pulling up those two separate windows, those two views, please?
So if I start from scratch, this is my desktop in all its glory. I can start I'm on a Mac. I'm going to say, I'm going to start the VNC Viewer app. And so that shows the VNC Viewer. And then this is the entry, but I can just delete that quickly. So if we start from scratch, it's empty for most of us. And then I can type in the address 192.168.1.170. So there's no HTTP and there's no colon there. And that then says authenticate to server. The username is Pi and the password is Pi. And I'll say okay. And then it pops up that, it pops up another window that is the window into the Raspberry Pi.
Simon speaking here. Remy's saying in the chat, having issues installing the viewer. We'll keep trying. We're at about lunchtime right here, and we're at kind of a good like pause point, because next we'll go into putting our stream keys in and starting the stream itself. So why don't we? I forget exactly when when we meet back again. Is Valencia here or Jules here? Who can? Is it 1? People know. Okay, so
Hi, it's Valencia here. It's yeah, we're coming back at 1 PST, so that's 4 Eastern time.
Okay. Simon speaking again. Thanks, Valencia. So why don't we take a break? I'll stick around a little bit to help with people who have any kind of questions coming up. This part's a little bit hard to troubleshoot because it's less about the Raspberry Pi, is more about like your own computer, which we know less about for a good reason. So Remy, yeah, we can look at what might be going wrong with VNC Viewer for you too. But let's call this lunch break and meet back here in 1 hour. Thanks, everyone. Great work so far.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.